Hey grade 7, welcome to another edition of Mr. D Teaches Math. Today what we're going to be looking at is quite a basic review of adding and subtracting numbers. So our goal basically today is to add and subtract numbers and then to use addition and subtraction to solve problems. Pretty straightforward. So the problem that we are going to be looking at is that a tour bus is going to leave from Niagara Falls to watch hockey games in Toronto and Montreal. Now, at the beginning of the trip, the bus's odometer reads 47,681.4 kilometers. At the end of the trip, it reads 49,024.1 kilometers. So, the main question that we're asking ourselves today is, how far is the trip? And so what we need to do is we need to find the difference. Again, difference just means using subtraction. So I'm going to bust out my trusty purple pen. To just review, we're going to be subtracting the small number from the big number, and we're going to group them together according to place value, and here we go. So we have 1 minus 4. Well, we don't have enough to do the subtraction, so we need to borrow from the 4, so that becomes a 3, and then this becomes an 11. So 11 minus 4 is 7. This one we borrowed, so this becomes 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 minus 8 we can't do, so we got to borrow from here, but this is a 0. So we can't actually borrow from here, so this becomes an 8. This becomes actually a 10. And so then we borrow, so that becomes just a 9. And then this becomes a 12, so we're going to scratch that. This becomes a 12. So 12 minus 8 is 4. We borrowed, so we're left with 9 here, so 9 minus 6 is 3. 8 minus 7 is 1, and then 4 minus 4 is just 0. So, the distance of that trip from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Montreal is 1,342.7 kilometers. And we can go back and we can use our problem-solving method that we talked about several days ago, and we can actually look back and we can estimate. So if we have 49,024.1 and then 47,000, and let's say we want to round each of them to the nearest 1,000, that's going to become 49,000 minus 48,000 using our rules for rounding. We do subtraction, and 49,000 minus 48,000 is just 1,000. So our answer, 1,342.7 kilometers, is pretty reasonable if we look back and we do this comparison. Okay, so that's a refresher on how to do subtraction. Remember, we need to borrow, and sometimes we need to borrow a couple of times, and that's our refresher on subtraction. Now, there is another tour bus that leaves from Niagara Falls that's going to watch baseball games in Toronto and Detroit and Cleveland. The distance from Niagara Falls to Toronto is 135 kilometers. The distance from Toronto to Detroit is 374 kilometers. The distance from Detroit to Cleveland is 282 kilometers. And the distance from Cleveland to Niagara Falls is 328 kilometers. So, the question is, how far does the bus travel? To do that, we need to find the sum. Sum is a fancy word for addition. Actually, it's probably less fancy than addition. But we're going to find the sum. So, I have regrouped, or I've organized all these numbers according to place value. They don't have to be in any particular order. And what we do is we just start adding down the columns. So, 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 2 is 11, plus 8 is 19. So we write the 9. We can't write a 1 there. We have to carry it over to the next column. So we have 1, plus 3 is 4. This is the one from the 19. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 7 is 11. Plus 8 is 19. Plus 2 is 21. So we write the 1 and carry the 2 over to the next column. So 2 plus 1 is 3. Plus 3 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. Plus 3 is 11. So the total distance that they travel from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Detroit to Cleveland back to the Falls is 1,119 kilometers. And that, folks, is a real quick review of how to add numbers on paper using a pen or a pencil. You can obviously double check using rounding to see the reasonableness of your answers. You can ultimately double check using calculators, although I typically, when we're introducing a topic like this, typically don't allow you to use calculators in class the next day. I want to know that you can actually write it out on paper with a pencil, doing it that way. But so that's it for tonight, and I hope you have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.